Welcome, everyone. My name is Christy Ashton, and I'm moderating today's webinar, Reimagining B2C Marketing, 3 Ways Customer Data Platforms Drive Bottom Line Results. Thank you to the Outdoor Industry Association for sponsoring this webinar, and thank you all for attending. Before we start, please note all lines will be muted for the entire webinar. However, we welcome your questions and ask that you please enter them into the chat box below. At the end of the webinar, we will get to as many questions as possible. If we don't get to your question, we'll email you directly. In today's webinar, we will define what a CDP is and then discuss the value for marketers. Let's meet our CDP experts. We are extremely lucky to have David Robb with us today. David is the world's foremost authority on customer data platforms. He founded the CDP Institute, a vendor-neutral organization, and also named the category in 2013. Since then, he has made it his work to educate marketers about what a CDP is and how it fits into the sales and marketing ecosystem. David is also an accomplished author, speaker, and industry consultant. Next, discussing the value of CDPs is Carlos Perez, Chief Revenue Officer at Ascent 360. Carlos is an expert in revenue growth strategies with a successful track record as an industry consultant and in leadership roles at Wowza, Envision, Yipes, and Level 3 Communications. Now that you know our speakers, let's get started. David, please tell us about customer data platforms.
Thank you, Christy, and thank you everyone for joining us. So we will just jump right in then. Why are CDPs needed? Good question. So first reason is that your customers want this unified experience. They demand it. The surveys show this constantly. And they are not going to get that unified experience unless you have unified customer data that gives you a complete picture of who they are, what they've done, and how all your different channels are interacting with them. The second reason is getting to that unified customer data is not easy. People have tried to custom build data warehouses for actually decades at this point, and there are many perfectly fine and successful data warehouses out there, but they are generally storing just a subset of all your customer data. And adding a new data element, as any of you who have tried, to a data warehouse can be a project that takes literally days, weeks, sometimes even months, because the data warehouses are very carefully crafted. And that's great, but the minute you change anything that's carefully crafted, you have to recraft it. It can be very time consuming. Traditional data warehouses also don't store unstructured data. They're really limited to structured data because they're really designed for financial analysis. The other option that you have is actually a parcel of options that manage customer data in other ways. CRM systems, marketing automation systems, DMPs or data management platforms, web personalization. There's actually quite a slew of systems out there already in your company that are storing customer data, but they're all built for different reasons. And systems really are designed and optimized for whatever their primary purpose is. So your CRM is really designed and optimized for your salespeople or your customers' contact center agents to deal with one person at a time. It's not the same structure technically that you would use if you want to do something that analyzes all of your customer data at the same time. Same for marketing automation, same for DMP. All right, so the other solutions don't work very well. They're not designed to do what a CDP does. A CDP, on the other hand, is defined as packaged software that creates a persistent, unified customer database that's accessible to other systems. So it's designed specifically to provide you with that unified, persistent data that's accessible. So let's unpack that definition just a bit. Packaged software. We all think we know what that means. It's actually a little hard to define packaged software. We're scratching our heads. about that a little bit, but basically it means that it's already built. It's something that you buy and you install, and then you configure it. So that's different from something that you build from scratch, like a data warehouse or a data lake. And the difference between building something from scratch and buying something that you then configure is the difference between buying a pile of lumber and buying a house. It's a big difference. So minimal technical resources required to actually move into that customer data platform that's already pre-built and to keep it running. So way easier, way cheaper, way quicker, way less risk. Persistent unified customer database is a passel of words. It's the second time I used passel today. And that has a number of implications, but it particularly means that the CDP is creating this comprehensive view of each contact by capturing data from multiple systems, by cleaning, matching, enhancing it, and then storing it to track behavior over time, all right? So the persistent means it's storing it, the unified means that it's pulling it all together and matching it together. And the fact that it's a customer database means that it's actually organized around customers. You can pull out the information about each customer as a bundle, as one bundle fairly easily. So what makes it special compared to some of the other sources we were just talking about? Works with all sources. It links data across multiple identifiers, so your email address and your phone number and your mailing address, and of course your other email address and your various devices are all pulled together. The CDP stores all the details. It doesn't throw anything away, doesn't summarize data, because you never quite know when you're going to want to know what time of day it was that customer ordered that particular lamp. And it stores the data indefinitely. It's part of persistence. It doesn't just throw it away. Data management platforms, for example, usually throw the data away after 30 or 60 or 90 days because they're really designed for online audiences, for cookies, and that data gets stale really quickly. But you want to analyze the customer's history over time. You don't want to throw that data away. Accessible to other systems, probably the most self-evident of these requirements means what it says. Any system can relatively easily access the CDP data. That usually means that there's an application program interface or API that lets the systems connect directly or possibly do a query like a SQL query. It may just mean that the system can push out extract files to other systems, because not all systems are designed to actively interact and pull data from a different systems in real time. So you may just have to push out extracts. That's okay. The point is that the data in the CDP can be used for different purposes. It can be used both for analysis, so sort of offline model building, for example, or it can be used to actually manage customer interactions in real time. So here's somebody on my website. Let me look up their data in the CDP, find out what they've done, maybe make a prediction. Maybe you can have the CDP itself, run a predictive model score or two, and then push that back to the website in this case, or to the call center in real time, so I can use that data while I'm interacting with the customer. The other advantage of the CDP, a little subtle here, is that because I'm storing the data in the CDP, I don't have to worry about if it gets lost in the original system. So my email history is stored in the CDP. So if I want to switch to a different email supplier, I don't have to worry about getting all that email history that's in the old email system into the new email system. And that can be a big issue. And I don't have to worry about how good a job that new email system does of storing that email history, because it's out here someplace else in my CDP. So that frees me up both to change systems, both in terms of makes it easier to get rid of an old system, and it allows me to consider a larger number of new systems, so I don't have to worry about how good they are at some of the things that the CDP is doing for me. So here we have a summary for the visual thinkers among you. The CDP flow is that the CDP gets data from its customer data sources, your email service, website, point of sale, e-commerce, customer service, various and random ingested batch files, pulls it all into the CDP itself. The block, that circle in the center there, is the CDP. Does the things we just talked about. It transforms it, cleans it, unifies it, reformats it to be accessible, puts it out there, And then it shares it out with my marketing systems, or actually also could be my non-marketing system, but again, my email system, pushing custom audiences out to social media, running surveys, doing direct mail lists. There's actually lots of things, of course, I can do with the data, doing analytics as well. So the CDP sits there in the center of things. It gets the data from all kinds of places. It makes it available to all kinds of places. And it, above all else, makes it easier for you, the marketer, to give the customer that unified experience that you want to give them and that they come to expect. Christy.
Well, excellent. Thank you, David. Again, to learn more about CDPs, please visit the Institute at cdpinstitute.org. Now I will turn it over to Carlos to tell us all about how CDPs drive results. Carlos?
Thank you, Christy. Thank you, David. And thanks everyone for joining. Appreciate the time this afternoon or this morning, I guess, depending on time zone. And excited to dig in a bit here and talk about the ways that CDPs drive bottom line results, right? So I think David did a great job describing what a CDP is, features, functions. We can talk later as well on what it isn't. And what I'd like to do is spend a little time describing the ways that it translates for you, the client, into bottom line impact, right? And you can see on the slide, we highlight 3 key areas. So the first key area is increasing the quality and quantity of your database. And so, one of the things that I'm sure all of you on the phone are doing today is identifying a value for what, how much is a prospect worth to you? How much is a customer worth to you? And, effectively, CDPs will help you to add more targets to that mix, right? More targets equals more money. Simple way of saying it. Second area is increasing the lifetime value of your customers. And we'll dig into each of these, is really about personalization and understanding your customers and speaking to them directly, right? Having genuine conversations with your customers, but being able to do that at scale. We'll dig into that in a second. The third area where CDPs are help you deliver value is improving the efficiency of your marketing efforts, both in terms of your actual marketing spend, right? In terms of your advertising dollars, your efforts on email or social or direct mail, but also the resource that you deploy internally, right? The people resource, the opportunity cost that comes in marketing. And those are the 3 key areas we're going to walk through. We're going to dig into each and spend a little time talking through. In total, we see the combined impact of CDPs translating to a 2 to 5x ROI within the first year. Meaning, let's just say you spend $50,000 on a CDP, meaning the solution, the install, etc. We see our customers realizing $100,000 to $250,000 back within that first year. And that's conservative estimates. That's attributable dollars. That's black and white lift. There's I'm sure many other additional benefits, but it's pretty exciting and it's pretty compelling. And as David suggested earlier, it really can serve as the foundation for so many other things from a marketing perspective. So let's dig into each of these areas. The first one that we're going to dig into was the quality and quantity of your database. So let's talk quality first, right? And all of you out there, I'm sure, recognize the quality challenge in data, right? You've got all of this data, it's probably siloed today, but you're frustrated because you probably don't trust it, right? You probably see issues in this data. And it's true. So I don't know if any of you saw the recent Forrester report. I think it came out, I want to say 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. But the report suggested or said that based on their analysis, bad data cost 21 cents of every marketing dollar spent from an advertising and an engagement perspective. 21% of your dollars thrown down the toilet for bad data, right? And it's incredible, right? And so you say, as a starting point, you can improve by 21% just by getting the data right. Additionally, think of all the things you would do if you trusted your data, if you had a single source of truth, right? If you didn't say, oh, I need to go to my e-com platform or system for one set of data, or my ESP for another set. Imagine if you could go to a single source of truth for prospects, for customers, across the board, across all data, pervasively, right? Not you trust the data one day, the next day think that it's dirty, or the next week think that it's dirty. Imagine trusting it every day, right? So let me talk you through some of the steps, some of the things that we do at Ascent 360. And this is from decades of experience in, as David accurately said, back in the day, it was, marketing databases, right? Data warehouses. We had experience back in that day. We have been a pioneer and one at the forefront of CDPs as the space was defined by David and others. And as entrants and the formative companies have grown up, Ascent's been there the whole time. So through this decades of experience, we go so much further than what typically is thought of for quality, which is deduping. Of course we do deduping, right? Yeah, amen, right? That's the starting point. What are the things that we're doing above that, above and beyond that? We're parsing and standardizing information, right? Pulling data from all those data silos and putting it into a single consistent construct that makes sense for you. Comparing that data to national change of address databases. Matching that data. So understanding from a phonetic perspective, different spelling perspective, household perspective, matching individuals to households, parents to children, multiple email addresses, and understanding what is the household and customer record that makes sense, right? So we've got a hygiene engine, a matching engine. We also have an optimization engine where we determine, and not just one time, many times, right? So not just one day and then it gets dirty. Every day we're understanding what is actually the best name that this person has. Charles, Chuck, Charlie, Smoothie C. What's the best email? To the best of our knowledge, what's their gender, right? So we've got gender lookup tables where we understand that Carlos is typically a male, Christy typically a female, but our Pat or Sam undetermined. Of course, all of that is overwritten, or is the primary data always has precedent, right? So customer tells us what's their preferred gender, or how do they recognize themselves. That's what, of course, we're using. But we're going to intelligently fill in the gaps where we don't know the information, and it's based on decades of experience of this. So that's all about quality. The next thing that we're doing here is enriching all of that data, right? And so we have over 50 what we call derived variables. So from data begets new and information begets new data, right? So we create fields that make your life easy, fields, create fields that make your data usable, that make your data accessible. So things like lifetime spend, best practices like RFM score, so recency, frequency, and monetization. Things like last open date or preferred method of communication. Millennials, maybe they prefer getting texted. Myself, maybe email's the way to go, but of course at my preferred email account. Others, maybe more mature folks or certain industries, certain subsets, maybe they like direct mail. You can capture that information so you can truly personalize, right? Personalization is not about first name and last name, right? It's about truly understanding your customers, understanding their behavior, speaking to them in a genuine way. And this is what we're doing from a quality perspective. So now let's go to the next slide and talk about quantity, right? Increasing the size of your marketable database. Richness and quality is so important, but expanding it over time is equally important, right? Back to more targets equals more money, making it real simple. How do we do that, right? How do we think about that from a CDP perspective, and specifically from an Ascent to CDP perspective? Well, the first thing, when we're integrating all of your data sets, so David characterized it earlier, showed you the visual, we're pulling point of sale data together with e-commerce data together with lift scans, together with lodging, cross-referencing that and pulling it together with spa or other activity and seasonal activities, review sites, you name the system, we are able to integrate it together. Your website, of course. By combining these databases and data sets together into a single harmonized single source of truth, we quote unquote find customers. We find prospects, meaning that they were within your data somewhere, but you hadn't identified them as a marketable target, right? You hadn't taken the time to figure out their right email, their right address, their right name, their total spend. We find that information for you. We allow you to engage with them, right? They were there before. They bought from you before in the store. Now you've connected the dots and you can speak to them ongoing. And that translates to bottom line numbers. Because remember, every customer in your database has a value to it. Every prospect in your database has a value to it. The other thing that we do is allow you to speak to folks that previously you might have crossed out from the list. What do I mean by that? Well, maybe before you took kind of a simple view, and it's just appropriate and probably conservative is better than kind of Wild West, but let's say they unsubscribe to your email. Well, at the end of the day, that doesn't mean you can't talk to them on social, on text, on direct mail, right? And so we allow you to understand the paths to communicating with your customers so that more of them are available to you, right? Of course, you can't email everybody, but you can text some of them. You can direct mail some of those folks. The other thing that we do is in a very concise, in a very compliant, in a very appropriate way, we ensure that you're complying with security and email and privacy regulations while not excessively or being conservative in a way that you don't need to, right? So we help you understand who needs to have GDPR or CASL or CAN spam applied to them. We translate those regulations so that we understand, like as an example, if it's a Canadian resident and they've purchased from you, then they have implied consent and you actually can email them. So those might have been customers previously If you didn't have explicit consent, you might have said, oh, I can't email them. Well, actually, maybe it's possible that you can. And so we help you translate those complex, ever-changing regulations to a very manageable reality that opens the door to more communication. California, as an example, new regulation starting in January. We're already all over it. Lastly, we're going to help you on an ongoing basis. This is not a one-time. You can see here the 30 to 75% uplift in kind of year one or year zero. We're going to manage and work with you on strategies ongoing year over year so that you're continuing to grow that database, continuing to consider, can I pull in my Amazon prospects, my Amazon customers into my direct database? So that's highlights. Of course, we could continue to dig in, but let's stop there on quality and quantity and move on to our next topic, which is our next area of bottom line impact, increasing the lifetime value of your customers. You say, okay, how do I do that, right? I love the idea, it sounds great. Well, the first thing that we do, and what should be top of mind for every marketer, is identifying your best customers. So the Pareto rule, the 80-20 rule, time and time again, we have over 150 customer databases. We have decades of experience in this business. Time and again, we see 20% of your customer base translates to 80% of your revenue, right? The classic 80-20 rule. But the question, of course, is which 20? Like, okay, that's great to know, but do I know the exact 20%? And take a second, those customers are 6 times as valuable than the other 80%. Your top 20% customers on average are giving you 16 times more revenue than any other customer that you have. You should know who they are. You should be engaging with them in differentiated and unique ways. You should be spending a disproportionate amount of your time, money, and energy on those customers. What can you do with a CDP? Well, we know exactly who they are. We know the products that they're buying. We know the geographies they are. We know the life stage that they are. We can help you characterize and assess who your top customers are. What are the commonalities? What are the common threads? And then, of course, we can help you go find more of them. Lookalike audiences in Facebook, lookalike campaigns in Google or Instagram, products that they buy. Well, let's go market for more of those. Let's look to convert our prospects on those particular customers, our prospects, sorry. And of course, most importantly, let's go after more share of wallet, cross-sell, upsell, retain those highest valuable customers, because those are the ones, of course, that have more share of wallet for you. It sounds so simple, it's so powerful, but it can only effectively happen if you really know your customers, if you have a consolidated view of your customers, a 360 view of your customers. That's what we're all about. It's not just, of course, your highest value customers. We help you think through what are the other segments that matter? What are the other characteristics and ways that I can analyze and understand and know my customers and prospects better? Is it life stage that is truly meaningful or truly predictive in terms of customer behavior? Meaning, if I engage with my customers around life stage and tailor my message, my content, my creative around the fact that whether they're, have a family, or whether they're empty nesters or more mature folks, or whether they're millennials and more adventurous and, seeking thrill and challenge, maybe I would speak to them differently if I'm looking for season pass renewal campaign, or if I'm doing a subscription box conversion campaign. Of course, right? I mean, thinking about lifetime value as a starting point, life stage is of course critical, gender, right? Like show them the products that work for them, right? Is it, you know, a set of clothing or socks or activewear or sportswear for a particular gender, for a particular life stage, for a particular climate? Tailor your campaigns so they translate. That's what we're all about. We've got all types of tools and capabilities that and partner with you to identify those segments that matter. Let's just look at a couple of examples that kind of make that real, right? So here you can see tailoring by life stage segment. So your copy, your offer, your creative, you can tailor those to folks that are, you know, assigned family life stage versus mature life stage versus younger millennial. Of course, you can do this not only by segment, but when you've got the capability to do this in an automated fashion and in a very straightforward fashion that's time efficient and effective, you can then sub-segment, right, to product types. So are they a prospect? Are they a customer? What type of customer? Are they a pass holder that's expired? Day tripper, you know, single ticket, annual pass holder already. You know, of course you want to speak and talk to folks in a way that resonates with them. So kind of going back to some stats, I'm sure you've seen millions of them. I'm sure David could crank out, you know, 30 different sources. But recently I saw a study from Epsilon that said customers are 80% more likely to purchase if you're personalizing their outreach, personalizing their engagement. 80% say they're more likely to purchase. That's insane. The flip side, 72% are more likely to exclude vendors that do not personalize. I'm one of these. You know, tell me, if you're on the phone sitting there today, don't you get frustrated when you get that email for a product that says buy it now when you just bought it yesterday? Tell me how frustrated you are when it says come to the store near you and it tells you, you know, the store that's 3 states away, that's your local store, when it's not. You know, tell me when something they're asking you to subscribe to something and you've already subscribed, right? And maybe even paid more than the offer that they're pitching to you. You want something that's tailored to you, of course. And I mean, you know it's possible. You know it's what good marketers should be doing today. And so you're frustrated when it doesn't happen. In fact, you're probably angry and maybe exclude things when it's the opposite, right? When you get that generic email that goes to everybody, that's blasted out, you know, spray and pray. You know it's frustrating. Let's take that next step together, right? Okay, so our third bucket. This is good stuff. The third one is all about efficiency, right? We spend our time, we spend our money, we want to do that effectively, right? We want to see a good return from it. So the first area, let's just talk about making your life more easy through automation and easy to use effective tools. So I'm just going to use a real example that I know all of you have felt the pain and suffering, which is list creation and management. Oh my God, you pull your hair out. Does it make your hair turn gray? For me, does it make my hair fall out? I mean, it's just like a marketer's nightmare, right? It's the thing that just frustrates us to no end. Who wants to be creating lists when instead you can be analyzing data, creating campaigns that are meaningful, adjusting creative and copy, thinking about how marketing and converts more, upsells more? Like, it's the last thing we do. Well, guess what? our tool allows you to easily create segments, easily create lists, and automate the loading of those lists to all of your marketing channels, right? To your ESPs, to Facebook, and know with confidence that those lists aren't going out of date. Like, nothing's worse than pulling a list. Well, I can tell you what's worse, doing the same thing next week, right? I mean, come on. So we allow you to identify those lists that matter, the audiences that matter, and then automate the integration of those lists into your marketing tools so that the data is pulled on the day, time that you want. Then the email goes out. Then the the Facebook campaign goes out. Then the Instagram campaign goes out. And so you're more efficient. Of course, it's more accurate. But just think of the hours, the sweat, the gray hairs that you're going to save. The next area I'm going to hit is around partnering. And we at Ascend 360 really think about your CDP solution a bit differently, I think, than many in the space. It's not just the platform. Yeah, we've got a kick-ass platform. You also have the consultative professional services, your partner throughout the entire life cycle, right? We're your partner through integration and setup. We're your partner through analyzing your customer database and then getting to the things that matter. And then we're your partner driving to results, not only today, but ongoing, right? We're in the foxhole right there with you the whole way. What does that mean? It means you've got a dedicated client success manager from soup to nuts. From the minute you sign, you're introduced to your client success manager. You've got an implementation manager that's with you all the way through turnup. You've got a set of data scientists that you can tap to do advanced analytics, to partner with you and your CSM to understand how campaigns are performing. You've got email and social marketing experts that are going to help you design, integrate to your email service provider the right way. In other words, we're your partner to supplement your team, to ensure that you're getting the most impact from your team. And we're purposely designed with resource constraint folks in mind, right? We're not expecting or anticipating that you need a fleet of folks to engage with our tool. It's just the opposite, right? We know that you're probably, 2 marketers, 5 marketers, whatever the number is, but you've got other things that you have to do. We're your partner in making this successful from cradle to grave, meaning that the entire way, harmonizing your data, knowing your database, and getting to results. So those are the key 3 bottom line areas. I'm going to give you a couple of examples here, just some fun stuff that gives you a flavor of how it all translates, right? So when you've got a CDP, and specifically your Ascend CDP solution, you've got a 360 view on all of your prospects and customers. So this gives you a nice little lens into the type of information that's at your fingertips, right? It's actionable information. It's a 360 view across transactions, across perspectives, across their lifetime. And it's up to date, right? Every single day we're updating this, we're understanding. And that allows you to tailor your engagement, right? So on the left-hand side, you see a tailored email. This could be a tailored Facebook post or Facebook advertisement. This could be a tailored direct mail. But we understand in this case what Craig does, how much he spends, how he compares to other customers. We've assigned him a 522 RFM score. So we know he's in the top quintile in one thing, and in the second quintile and a couple others. We know what segments that he shows up in, right? Let's give another example here for Andy. Andy's our skier. He's our adventurer. He's probably looks like he's got a family. and in terms of life stage. And again, this allows us to tailor our messaging, our communication, so that we can be genuine, so that we can resonate with him, and engage with him appropriately, right? Identify, does he fit into what segments, etc. All about how you go to market, how you translate your effort to real impact and results. What I want to see is a feedback loop, right? And so the holy grail, of course, for marketing is getting to attributable revenue, right? So we identify the right segment, target that segment, position ourselves appropriately, develop the right message at the right time to that prospect or to that customer, get the campaign going, and then you want to see, did it work, right? And the beauty of integrating all of this together in a CDP is we have that feedback loop. We have that revenue attribution. And so we're able to see, do campaigns translate? And so we can connect campaigns directly back to customers and conversions and understand how much dollars and cents any particular campaign translates to. Awesome. So just to quickly summarize, and before we get to kind of wrapping up into a couple questions, 3 key ways that we drive bottom line value from an Ascend CDP solution perspective. Number 1, increasing the quality and quantity of your database. More customers, more money, right? Beautiful thing. Secondly, increasing the lifetime value of those customers through genuine engagement, genuine knowledge and insights that you have about them. And lastly, but certainly critically, improve the efficiency of their marketing spend and your marketing effort. Consistently, we see across industries, across marketing maturity of the organization, across size of the company, 2 to 5x return on your investment. And that's real dollars, that's attributable dollars, that's black and white money. It's exciting. It's just, it makes so much sense, right? It makes just so much sense. That's what we've got. So, from a next steps perspective here, if you want to know more, feel free to hit us at hello@ascend360.com anytime. You can email me, cperez@ascend360.com. We'd love to spend some time to set up a consultation for you if you're interested. We also have a complimentary data analysis, that we'd be happy to provide. So if you're interested, just hit us up. We'll actually be reaching out to everybody that's participated or that's listening on the recording. And of course, always feel free to hit our website, ascend360.com/meetyourdata whenever you'd like.